Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm representing the opposition and the Honourable Leslie Williams, who is the Shadow Minister for Women and, of course, the Shadow Minister for the Prevention of Violence, Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault. And I would like to thank Savannah Finn first for her welcome to country, and I also acknowledge any elders past, present and of course emerging. I would like to acknowledge the Honourable Jodie Harrison, Minister. Thank you for your very prescient words. And of course to my parliamentary colleagues, Michael Egan and Ms Abigail Boyd, who is a colleague of mine in the upper house. As a short introduction, I'm a new member of Parliament. I was elected in March. I'm the Liberals' youngest ever woman to be elected to the upper house, and also the first openly LGBTQI Liberal woman parliamentarian from New South Wales. So it really is an honour for so many reasons to be here today. And of course, it's one of the hardest topics to talk about, and therefore one of the most important. Raising awareness about domestic violence can be triggering and traumatic. It requires courage, resilience and determination. I sincerely and gratefully applaud all of you here today, and most especially the victims, survivors and advocates for domestic violence. I feel that you are driven by a deep sense of duty, of a deep sense of building a better world for yourselves and for others, to help others and to make society better for everyone. I thank you especially because by sharing the pain and the history, you are helping us to identify shared realities that have previously gone unnoticed as patterns, and they've been previously felt in isolation. You are helping us to create, with organisations like Hope and Heal and DV New South Wales, a better shared future. The first instance of domestic violence I was exposed to was through a friend of my mum's. This friend, Margot Attia, was murdered by her husband, released from hospital 32 hours prior after he had attempted suicide, and he had explicitly told doctors that he would try to kill his wife and his mother-in-law. He was released while Margot was begging that he be kept in hospital. This was 20 years ago. At the time, I didn't really know how to process it. It seemed so outside of what was right and what was normal. I understand more today. It is so outside of what is right, but it is not outside of what is becoming normal. 1 in 6 women have experienced physical and or sexual violence by a current or previous cohabiting partner since the age of 15. It's 1 in 18 for men. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have experienced emotional abuse since the age of 15. Our watch says that in the year 2021-22, 5,606 women, an average of 15 women per day, were hospitalised due to family and domestic violence. And I now understand that not all victims are survivors. In 2018, the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare say that intimate partner violence contributed to 228 deaths in Australia. And we here today honour those who have lost their lives. And these shoes are a very moving reminder of the people who are behind the statistics. Though the 3 children of Margot are survivors, they have built lives of their own and moved through the world building safe families and friendship circles of their own. But no child should be subject to that upbringing. Jordan Baker, the journalist, wrote a piece in today's Sydney Morning Herald calling out the shocking sexualised behaviour of schoolboys against fellow female students and even teachers. These boys, according to an Ombudsman report, were clearly not appropriately disciplined for the severity of this incident, and there were ongoing incidents. The lack of respect, the entitlement and the chronically low self-esteem that can lead to violence must be averted wherever it appears and as soon as it appears. Schools, teachers and parents must be equipped and empowered to respond to these incidents. And while we want to equip everybody with the tools to spot a perpetrator, to be connected to trusted loved ones, to be able to seek advice or help as quickly as possible, The reality is that we must also change the thoughts and behaviours of potential and active perpetrators. But of course, before that change happens, we need to employ modern technology to use financial resources to legislate to protect potential targets and victim survivors. I'm proud to be part of the party who took the bold step of introducing coercive control legislation into Parliament last year. It was a nation-leading reform, and it will help protect many people in New South Wales. There now must be a total focus on rolling out the legislation effectively, with collaboration from police, domestic and sexual violence support services, and of course the wider community. Books like See What You Made Me Do by award-winning author Jess Hill provide a clear and concise picture of the deliberate denigration perpetrators put their victims through. People must be aware that coercive control will, in July next year, be a criminal offence. Across all ages, families, friends, colleagues, faiths, ethnic backgrounds, genders, we must share this message. That coercive control is a deliberate and sustained behaviour to undermine a person's self-worth and their liberty. That behaviour is designed to manipulate, control and overpower. It is not acceptable, not legal and never okay, especially in a liberal democratic society like ours. And the Minister spoke about new legislation that's coming through the Houses that will strengthen our response. And I think this is very important to recognise that these behaviours that lead up to murder are consistent patterns of behaviour that we can recognise and legislate against. And if we put the right resources towards this, that legislation will, into the future, hopefully be made redundant. I say this knowing that the issue of domestic violence is not partisan, of course. It requires the full strength and focus of leaders to combat and turn around. Domestic violence is not right, and it should never be normal. A final thank you to all of you who bring light to this terrible issue.